Christina, Universe Citizen, presents New Era Religion, Episode 16, which is Part 2 of Episode 15, March 27, 2022, entitled As the God of War. Continuing with the overlapping last and first paragraphs of this Part 2. Traditionally, habitually, the people perpetually yield to the established influences of any predominating PRJWBCS factor. That's politics, religion, justice, war, belief complex schemes, infused with fear of the destructive implication. Our confused humanity hesitates to initiate the essential structural integrity patterning that coincide with systemic thoughts, equanimity, which is the vector equilibrium, and omni-intertransformabilities. Synergetics 440.00. Writing the words, saying these words to a world audience expects rejection from their ingrained traditional way of non-thinking, which is most prevalent wherever believe is used instead of using the word think. Great powers of persuasion have been given to the word believe. You'd think it refers to systemic thoughts, patterning integrity, when in fact it does not. When we experience any degree of clarity concerning what we are observing, individually observing, it is a first-hand experience that consciously refers the articulations to the thought process, which we know is a systemic thought of the generalized conceptioning field, and therefore is tetrahedral. Logically, the omnicomprehensive thought is referential to a single conceptual system that provides a common language and accounting for the mind's conceptual functioning and physical brain's technological functioning. Synergetics 251.50. Metaphysical intellect is a function of universes, omnirationally coordinated physical realities. Anticipatory design science realities always require systemic thoughts, awareness of a closed system, self-other validating variables, as well as the 6 positive and 6 negative degrees of freedom. Synergetics 251.46. It is good to note that the only 2 possible covariables that are operative in all universe design is modification of angle and frequency. How can humans of a mind, our evolution species, recognize local transformation events without awareness of the only zerophase of energy that is a conceptuality of the vector equilibrium, which, by the way, is an empty set tetrahedron? Obviously, there is a discoverable significance to the word nuclear and to any nuclear reference in extremes of redundance, correlating to the games people play while surviving the latest round of fear engendering and threats of harm. It occurs everywhere as we humans long to experience freedom, from the politically reenacting senseless destruction that is justified as the P factors engender political expedients, proliferating the estranging greater distances from the equanimity model and the equanimity environments that are receptively, peacefully discoverable during conscious recognition of the most economical way of behaving relative to unity and self in universe. And this also can be, as the R factor or the J factor assumes, a predominantly self-ordained god of war, the W factor, authoritatively influential, indoctrinating position, repositioning humans in wanton destructiveness as refugee populations become the latest cast of millions on the world stage. Nuclear conceptioning and internuclear unity in common are polyhedral, correlative to closest packed unit radius spheres. It is where the integrity of the individual energy center may turn out to be essential to the conceptuality of potential or kinetic energy in parentheses cycles, the complex periodic interactions that we rarely associate with the generalized content of disseminated information as a thought-action, thought-language field of reconsidered resolutions to inherent nuclei. By the way, kinetic is defined in Oxford University Press Dictionary and Thesaurus as relating to or resulting from motion. Motion freedoms come to mind here. Universe's 6 positive and 6 negative motion freedoms of nature's coordinate system. Axial rotation, orbital rotation, inside-outside, torque, expansion, contraction, precession. To suggest that systemic thought, which has been identified by the minimum thinkable sets topological constant relative abundance of 6 lines as vectors, 4 vertexes as corners or points, and 4 triangular faces, openings, empty windows, is political, and that freedom is not an individually conceptual thought language tuning in function of general systems, is too ludicrous for words. Consequently, we rarely put such clarification into words. This is because the likelihood is rare in finding an audience on the world stage who is not historically deeply entrenched and indoctrinated by belief complex schemes, as those mindsets tend to dissuade their own mentality from doing so. Here at New Era Religion is the exception, because consciously, logically, omniconsiderately, and omnirationally there is no other alternative option than Synergetics from my personal experience, which I share with you. Whether you dare to invite the clarification into your psyche's omnirational perceptivity, only time will tell. It may take you any amount of time to figure it out, or it could occur in a eureka moment. If so, then you can barely hold back the enthusiastic inclination to deeply delve into the synergetic sections, intending to incorporate the extrapolations throughout your writing efforts, those compositions that turn into podcasts and other formats in the universal communications process. The eternal, omniscient mind, by the way, is not the god of war. It is simply my replacement and more accurate name for the sound word God in any spoken or written language anywhere on earth. Its supreme intelligence seems to be informing our potential tuning in mentality, what conceptual tuning means. Geometrical relationships of its eternal mind are imaginatively conceivable by humans. This means independently of size and can be identified systematically by agreement with the angular configurations and topological characteristics of polyhedra or polyhedral complexity, Synergetics 400.03. Even though, and similar to me, it is intuition that seems to be driving the effort, motivated thus to discover more about a world that can work for everyone, despite the personal predicament and all that are working overtime to prevent freedom of speech to such comprehensively discerning degrees that turn out always to be essential where unity is concerned. Thank you for your undivided attention, and please remember to play part 1 as well.